Good evening. We are discussing how India and European Union or the EU have signed a defense and security agreement. It is vital on two multiple counts. First, Europe and its long-standing ally, US, are not on the best of terms in the past few weeks. The Europeans have been accused by the Americans of freeloading on the American budgets in the NATO or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Also, very vital, India has clarified the India-EU defense agreement does not impinge upon any ties India has with the Russians. Today evening, after the signing of the agreement, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri clarified.
So, on the defense, security and defense partnership, as you're aware, any agreement is entered into between two sides when both sides see mutual benefit in it. And there are mutual benefits in this agreement. There is mutual interest in this agreement, and there are advantages that both sides see by entering into this agreement, and that's why this agreement has been entered into today. The issue about India's relationship with Russia is something on which we have spoken publicly on several occasions. There is a historical context for that. I don't think we have the time today to dilate on that. But these are two things that stand on their own and that go forward on their own.
That India-EU and India-Russia relations are totally separate and should not be linked, and they are not to be affected in any manner. He was answering questions from a foreign media journalist. Coming back to the agreement which India and EU have signed, has the following things which will look forward. India will look forward to technology. One, okay, India already is getting technology from the French company Safran is a joint engine maker with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited in India. Also, Safran is setting up an MRO hub in India. Rafale, the plane maker Rafale fighter jet made by the Dassault plane maker, also is tied up in India to make the fighter jet in India. It is going to win a contract for making 114 more jets. The German company TKMS or ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems is setting up a new generation submarine facility with Mazagon Docks Limited in Mumbai. All these things are already happening, including the Airbus C295 plane being made in India and Gujarat. But this agreement takes it on a wider, different level. This means Indian and European companies can now collaborate. It's an overarching umbrella. Collaborate on multiple issues. European companies hold cutting-edge technology in metallurgy, in artillery guns, small handguns, rifles, and even ammunition, precision ammunition. India so far does not have precision ammunition, buys it from the Americans paying hefty millions of dollars. The Europeans have that ammunition, but to be seen if that ammunition can be part of this agreement later. Today, European High Representative for Security and Foreign Affairs Kaya Kallas was speaking at the Ananta Aspen Center, where she clarified that the Europeans are looking at diversifying their partnerships, and also said, answering questions, that the European companies will be tying up with Indian companies possibly for making many things in the future. And this will open up possibilities of Indian defense industries working with the European defense industries. For the Indian defense industries, it's a win-win situation. They can provide good manpower, cheap labor and provisions to make the equipment in India. The Europeans hold the cutting-edge technology. It remains to be seen how far this goes forward, because India's tie-ups with the US so far has literally been a buyer-seller relationship. India and the US have not made any joint production in the past 20 years, despite India buying several high-end and high-value items like the Boeing P-8I plane for maritime surveillance, or the C-17 or the C-130J planes for the Indian Air Force special operations planes, and also the Apache helicopters, the Chinook helicopters. India has been buying all these from the US, but never had a joint technology or a joint production system. The French companies have been offering that. The Germans have offered that. The Airbus is doing that in India with the C295 plane, as I told you. But will this overarching umbrella diversify into little MSME things coming forward? Okay, there is a big company like Thales already working in India for a long time. They have a tie-up in India. Thales is a French company. Will other component makers also come to India, utilize the opportunity to come to India, make joint co-produce for the world? Because European equipment may have a market in other places, but the cost factor makes them expensive in countries like in African countries or even South American countries or even Asian countries. So these countries opt for value for money. Products made in India will provide value for money made by these European companies with India partnerships. That is the key of the defense and security agreement we have signed today with the Europeans. Also, Europe is looking at diversifying into the Indo-Pacific and is looking at greater maritime security and greater maritime cooperation with India. Europe has in the past done I mean, the European countries have done joint patrols with the US in the Indo-Pacific, including Germany, France, or even UK has done it. UK, though not part of the EU, but has done these patrols, including smaller countries. Netherlands sent a ship last year on a joint patrol with the US force. Now, these countries already have existing navies, they already have existing defense industries, and after the Russia-Ukraine conflict, they have increased their defense budget manifold, which means that they are ready to diversifying, opening the markets, and also offer an opportunity to Indian companies which already are doing very well. Several Indian private companies have been providing equipment or small arms or small ammunition to the European countries also in the past. They have been makers of these equipment, the makers of this ammunition. If not, they are making this equipment or this ammunition for European companies. How this pans out later, say in 5 years, 10 years later down the line, is yet to be seen. This is part of the EU. The agreement was signed today as Prime Minister Modi and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen met in New Delhi for signing or conclusion of the free trade agreement, which was agreed upon today. This agreement was part of it, signed by Kaya Kallas and External Affairs Minister Jay Shankar. Early in the morning, Kaya Kallas had met Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and discussed how Rajnath Singh mentioned how the supply chains can be mated by the European Union and India for making defense equipment in India. Keep on watching us for more updates on India-European defense ties. With me is Tribune photographer Mukesh Agarwal.